Packer Nation, Packers on the Rocks is back for episode 2. Cheers, Dave.
Yeah, cheers. Win. A win's a win, right? Even if it's ugly.
In my book, yes, even though it does remind me a lot of the 2019 season, and for about 9 out of those 13, I feel like we were saying that every single week. But hey, we'll take it. Doesn't matter if it's a quarterback who just was playing an NAIA a few years back, but either way, I would say it's upward and onwards, turning the page, right?
Yeah, it's just whew, it's gonna be a lot of sweating and a lot of drinking this season.
I know you said that for heading into the second half, which I know we're going to switch it up here a little bit today. We started with special teams for episode 1. This week, I know we had probably a tough time being able to come up with which teams was to credit or was responsible for this win, but let's go ahead and kick this thing off with the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, probably Gary won you the game, right? I mean, he had it's not a coming out party because this is, he's farther along. He's not a rookie or anything like that, so it's not a coming out party, but he probably had his top 2 game of his career. I mean, he was all over it: run game, pressures, sacks, strip sack, and the fumble recovery on that play. Defense first half was rolling, right?
I'm not going to take him down a notch, but maybe I will humanize him, which, by the way, Adam Schefter said earlier this week, Rashan Gary is a prime example why you don't go judging any sort of draft until you let those players play for a few years. But they did say, though, Rashan, he was kind of quiet in the second half, which in the other 3 games, he'll have his sack. But outside of that, though, he will go quiet at times. And I don't know if it's a matter of he's only playing so many snaps, and I see Jonathan Garvin in there, and I scoff at it and say, if we can't find anybody else out there in the league who's better than this guy. But second half, he was kind of quiet. But yeah, I'll easily give him the game ball without a doubt.
I think I'm going to butcher that. Like, Enekbar is actually coming along. I think he's going to be your solid third rusher. I mean, he's been blowing up guys. He's not quite getting there. He's maybe like a half step or a step late to the quarterback, but he's starting to come on. But
he's around the ball too, which they say good things happen when you're around the ball, which I see him on any sort of run play. He's right there. Normally it's Quake Walker making the tackle, which, speaking of Rashan and him taking a couple of years to develop, if you ask me, Quake Walker took a little bit of a step back this week and had a tough time shedding blocks.
Yeah, he might just be a touch undersized. It might be like an off-season thing where he just has to bulk up a little bit, because I think that's his thing of just the blitzes. He's getting stonewalled, and in the run game, it looks like he tackles too high because he seems like he gets pushed back maybe a yard. I mean, he holds up, but he has to wait for the cavalry to arrive for people to bring him down. Kind of a weird defensive game. I mean, the first half, they're rolling. Then you get to the third string quarterback, and it's like, all right, time to put him away. And Barry's like, ho, 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 third string quarterback. We're going to play, 8 yards off, not play 8 in the box, and, run it on us. And what do they do? Okay, we'll take the run. Like, we're not going to throw the ball. They had 100 yards passing.
And that's probably a difference between Lafluer and Billy B, is that Billy B is not afraid to run the ball 40 times a game and commit to it and force you to stop it. Whereas, I mean, we'll get to it probably here in a little bit with Lafluer and Rodgers, and they have to revert back to, how they would play Madden with their go routes there. But yeah, Bill Belichick, he's like, hey, you guys better stop me. I'm going to bring in a 6 offensive lineman. Joe Barry, what do you have for me?
Yeah, I wasn't in love with the game plan. I mean, going into it with Brian Hoyer, you'd think you just put 7 in the box every single time and say, okay, throw it on Douglas, throw it on Stokes. I mean, Amos only played like a series and was knocked out, but still, like, the whole talk of the offseason was this secondary is going to be top 3, maybe even rival best secondary in the league, and Barry's afraid to let them just cook. And we've just been getting run on nonstop.
It's Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's, and he's not playing to that. Even with Alexander out, you still have Douglas and you have Stokes, and far too many times, which I remember that one route to Nelson Aguilar. I'm pretty sure, which it was like in the first quarter on their scoring drive where they got a field goal. I'm pretty sure Rasul was playing off at that point as well. He plays soft, but then as like the year goes on, then he's not afraid to have him
Yeah,
get up in your face.
Lafluer like wears him down. Like I remember press conferences last year where they're just like asking time after time again, like what's with the defense. So Lafluer has to just go into his office and be like, why are we playing this? But yeah, the run defense is a concern. The run defense, I think, for us has always been a concern for years now. But I mean, in today's league, you can run it for 150 yards and still lose, especially if you're not throwing the ball. Like, okay, fine, take your 10-play drive where you run it 8 times and you chew up clock, and we could still stop you for a field goal. Like, that's not gonna. I don't know. Logically, it makes sense. Okay, make them do a 10-play drive, and if they make a mistake, or eventually you're going to get a stop, but they're going to keep testing that run defense.
They will until they find
Barkley
a way to get Devontae Wyatt up to speed or TJ Slayton more snaps, which I still question it when they're like, oh, we got a really stout defensive line and it's stacked. I'm like, you will not have a stacked defensive line when lunch pail Dean Lowry is still a part of your starting unit. It's not gonna happen. You don't have a really deep defensive line when he's your number one.
Yeah, and it just looks like Campbell took a slight step back, and then you have Walker where you're going to ride him up and down, and Amos being the box safety getting knocked out early did not help. And I mean, we're going to talk about it later in the show, but I mean, Barkley is going to be an issue next week, especially if the Giants don't have Daniel Jones, or even with Daniel Jones. Like, that running attack is okay. They might run it actually like 50 or 60 times on us.
They very well could, and I would think though. Fool me once, it's not going to happen once again. I'm sure they'll get it cleaned up with coach talk and all that. But it's like until you get Devontae Wyatt more snaps, or even just like, hey, if they're just going to commit to the run, well, you better load the box and force them when you have your secondary to beat you over the top or to beat you one-on-one. When I thought heading into this game, I'm like, even with a backup quarterback, we should have 3 or 4 interceptions.
Oh, I thought this game was going to be completely different. I was actually thinking it might be like a Bears shellacking, like a back in the day Bears shellacking, where we're talking about Rodgers, having 5 touchdowns in the first half, or something like, maybe not to that extent, but like the defense really showing out and just having our offense have more opportunities. So we'll flip it offensive side, which has not been pretty this year.
It's not for whatever reason. I know I brought it up earlier, but the best analogy that I have today is you got Lafluer and Rodgers who are playing this Madden game. If they listen to Madden and do if the Ask Madden play, what would Madden tell them to do? He's going to tell them
blast.
Yeah,
blast or the
stretch play, toss play to Jones, whatever you can do to be able to get the ball in his hands. Which, if you ask me, AJ Dillon, he's not off to as great of a start as I thought he was last year. I don't know if they're not blocking up for him, but either way, this offense starts and it stops with 33. And we saw that the touchdown drive with Christian Watson. That's when I thought that the floodgates were going to start opening up. We're going to, go up 2 or 3 scores on them. But it was right after that drive is when Rodgers decides to take a shot play to Christian Watson. He underthrows them, and then we just stall from there.
Yeah, they have this thing in their mind, and Rodgers just wants to just go for kill shots, or he either wants to go for kill shots, or he always thinks he's just down. Like, it was 7-3, and you're still like throwing like 4 verticals out there. Like, we're winning by 4 points. So, like, we're getting 6 yards a run, we're getting 8 yards a run, you're getting 12 yards, like. And, you could do the little bubble out to Dobbs or do like the quick game, but Rodgers doesn't want to do that, or Lafleur doesn't want to do that. I don't know who doesn't want to do that, but whoever decision it is to have a great drive, be rattling off probably close to 6 yards of carry, and then mixing in some passes to the next drive, being like, no, it's a great idea. Throwing it a 45-yard vertical right now into double coverage. Like, why? That seems like the best play out. it's not even off play action. It's just straight.
Oh, it's a lot of five wides, and it's
We're gonna
almost
go shotgun now.
they're taking a play out of that guy's book behind me. The gunslinger in him's like, all right, it's time to knock the doors off this thing and open it up, which it's just not happening so far. When you take 6 of those plays a game, or how many shot plays Rodgers did, you're killing your offense. And then sure, one of them's going to land, but that one had to land to, be a game winner to not force overtime.
It was a lot of finger biting third downs, and I thought there should have been this week. It was like that throw to Cobb, the throw to Lazard to open up the first half, which finally got like a fire under them, was huge. Because you go 3 and out there, I think the game goes differently. I think that catch actually wins us the game.
It does. Like I brought up before, I mean, I'm a couple thousand miles away from Lambeau, but I'm sure you could feel it too through your TV set that if we didn't convert that third down to Lazard to open up the second half, I have a feeling the Boo Birds were going to come back out like in 2018, and probably from there they're not going to get anything together. And I think we very well might end up losing that game. I would put that as like the play of the game.
Oh, for sure. That and Lazard made key catches, even in overtime with that like dig route that he got for like 22 or whatever it was. I tell you what, though, I mean, it's not the start that you want with, you go down, we start Ruiz, give up points all the time, 4 games in a row on defense. And we just love, having the defense start on the field and they always give up points. To the Dobbs fumble right off the bat, which rookie mistake, fine. You're going to live with those. Dobbs made a hell of a play on that back shoulder. Like, Rodgers doesn't throw that. You didn't see that with Adams till probably year 2 or 3 and stuff. Like, that's a hell of a play by Dobbs. And yeah, Dobbs dropped the pass that was very reminiscent to the Geronimo Allison play. But, I mean, Rodgers clearly likes him because he went right back to him in OT to march us down the field.
He says in the press conference too, hey, I trust him. Understand there's going to be growing pains here. And you're right. He's already not heads and shoulders at where Devontae Adams was at, but I know you brought it up before, you live it with MVS and you die it with MVS. And he's kind of showing those similar signs or similar traits, except for it's probably a poor comparison because MVS is a one-trick pony, whereas Dobbs, there's so much that you can do with him where, hey, I'll live with that. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And I'll take that with Dobbs because I know he'll clean those things up, or at least I'm pretty sure about it.
He's actually very reminiscent of another 87. I mean, a lot of people know Jordy being sure-handed in the toe taps and all that stuff, but Jordy dropped like 5 balls in the Super Bowl a year or 2. So there's going to be growing pains. I mean, it is what it is. And the Watson, they're doing a bunch of the Jets right now and stuff like that with Watson. I'm actually waiting. The one play I'm excited for, which I don't even know if they have in the playbook, is the fake jet sweep to Watson and just have him just go vertical with it.
That's what they did. That's the play that Rodgers missed him, that he underthrew him about like 3 yards. I went back and watched it. He easily had a step or a step and a half on him. He just got down the field in that much of a hurry where faked the jet sweep and then he just went straight 9.
It'll come. I mean, the offense is a lot of moving parts right now. You just got Doc back. You have Jenkins at right tackle, which he's way more suited for guard. I'm almost positive that position by the end of the year goes to Yash and you kick Jenkins back to guard.
They brought this week today on the press conference, and Lafluer did say, yeah, we played him some snaps there in training camp. As you mentioned, he played right tackle in college, where I even think he knows your best 5. You got to get him on the field because I don't want to say Jenkins is a liability at right tackle, but both of us saw how many times Judon was getting around the edge or Jenkins was holding him, and Rodgers had to get rid of the ball early, or probably even was responsible for, I know, at least 1, but even perhaps 2 sacks.
Yeah, it's even like, I don't know how much they want to tinker with that. Like, what would you do? Do you go Bach, JRJ, Myers, Jenkins at right guard, and then Yash, or do you just stack Jenkins and Bach together and you flip JRJ to right guard, and then you just have an absolute stalwart left side of the line? It'll be, there's going to be still a lot of growing pains with just guys coming back from injury, rookies and stuff like that. I think Rodgers mentioned something either in the post presser or even on the field where it's like this offense is going to be way different come November and December than it is now. It's just you just got to get some of these guys game reps and just playing time under their belt.
By the time that I'll make a take right now, by the time Christian Watson is not just only exclusively doing jet sweeps and he's actually catching 3 balls a game, that's 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, that's when I'll say that our offense is clicking. That may not be for a few weeks though.
You already see the transition of what they think of these guys, though, because Cobb played 25% of the snaps. Cobb is only on in third downs. Like, here's your buddy Rodgers. You have someone that you're just like, we'll roll him out here on third downs, but like Watson and Dobbs took over those snaps. I don't think Watkins comes back and replaces Dobbs even after injury. So you're rolling out Lazard. Watson is kind of your Swerve Irvin, what they thought Amari might be type guy until he kind of either grasps the playbook or they trust him to run other routes. He's just going to be the gadget guy year one. Yeah, I don't know. What's your take of how you see the offense playing out?
I mean, it's not on 25% of the snaps, but like what I wrestle with is, and I'm like, oh, Cobb's getting old, but like these past 2 weeks, he's still showing a pretty good like burst in his step where he's creating separation on third down. I've seen a couple like vintage Rodgers steps up in the pocket, and then here's Cobb on his like second off schedule route, and he's getting open. So yeah, you want to phase these guys in, but at the same time, though, I don't think Cobb is washed up.
I'm convinced that when Cobb's in the game, they don't call it play. It's just Rodgers just like it's just you know what I mean? Because Cobb is the only one that like knows Rodgers' body language of like where to go. So they just draw something up in the dirt in the huddle, and those are the Cobb routes.
You gotta start watching to see if Lazard and Dobbs or even like Lazard will know he's running a half-ass route. He's like, all right, it's over 3rd and 7, so we know where Rodgers is going to go with the ball. Which defense will start to clue in on that and see that he's going to Cobb every single time on third down, and then start to shadow a safety over him.
I'm actually surprised they haven't taken that away yet. Like, I'm shocked they don't just bracket Cobb on third down because you know exactly where he's looking first to read.
And it's probably a good time for us to transition a quick couple mentions of the special teams, and then let's do a bit of a preview here of what's to come in this trip across the pond.
Yeah, teams. I mean, obviously, plus you get the game-winning kick from 31 because after last year, I actually still was very nervous at a 31-yard field goal. I was like, watch this get. I had Lancaster moments of like this is gonna get like guys gonna come around the edge and block it.
You didn't feel confident with it? I felt pretty good about it. Just a matter of having Pat O'Donnell there to hold the snap and seeing Big Dog on one side. And I mean, Tyler Davis, he's kind of take or toss, but at least having Big Dog out there and not the big rolling turd in Tyler Lancaster, that made me feel pretty good.
I thought teams took a little bit of a step back today compared to, last week, just in terms of Amari's return ability, the coverage in general. They still down a few inside, the 20, but especially kickoff return, they allowed a couple of times them to get loose.
Punt return too.
And then Amari at the end of the game should have just fair caught that in the end of regulation. I don't know why you're returning.
Because they even asked today with Lafluer, they're like, were you potentially thinking about fair catch and taking a field goal from that spot? And he's like, yeah, we thought about it. Tell you what, though, here's my hot take for special teams. I think Amari Rodgers is coming on. He's bound to burst one at some point or another. I don't think he's going to do a Will Blackman punt return for a touchdown or a Micah Hyde, but he's came close to a few times with these like 15, 20-yard games where I think he could end up snapping off like a 40 or 50-yarder.
Yeah, you have more optimism than me because I'm still like, just catch the ball, please. Catch it and don't fumble it. Like that, just give it to the offensive hands. Like, if I could, it'd be like the backyard football where you score and you just, you don't do the kick punt return backyard football. You're just like, okay, we'll take it at the 20. Like that's still my approach to the return game. But we'll see. I mean, it's coming. I mean, there hasn't been any gaps this year. I mean, there hasn't been any botched snaps or, holds or any huge lapse of like lane integrity on any of the returns or anything like that. So,
And we'll hopefully start to incorporate this so it doesn't become a drinking game. But I at least think we should toast. And I'll probably butcher his first name, but Keisean Nixon. What is that?
oh yeah,
2 straight games now where he's down to punt inside the 2 yard line. Tell me a time that Jarrett Bush or Jeff Janis did that.
yeah. We'll cheers to that. Of course, this is on the rocks, right? We're drinking, right? O'Donnell might be the signing of the year.
Easily.
I mean, I didn't realize how good he was on the Bears, and I'm sure the Bears punted a whole hell of a lot. So,
And he's another kicker. We've had some good ones September, October, as we brought up last week. But when the weather changes, so have the punters. And you're right. I mean, just look at field position. I even thought about it a couple times during the game where Amari Rodgers. Yeah, I think he is getting better. There's improvements. I get it. I still am a little bit anxious when I see him fielding. I just want him to catch it first and foremost. At the same time, though, he's getting better of not catching a punt inside the 10-yard line and letting it go over his head. Where there was at least two punts, he let go over his head and they bounced in the end zone. And luckily we get the ball at the 25. Where I'm like with Pat O'Donnell these past couple of weeks, we've been downing those inside the 10.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so a little, preview. I don't know if we're going to do this every week, but this calls for a special week to do it because, I mean, Packers are going international after saying no for so many years of, giving up a home game or another team giving up a road home game because we just travel so well. But you excited for this, waking up and starting drinking at 8:30 in the morning our time? I mean, 8:30 my time, I think it's 7:30 your time.
7:30. I feel like, yeah, this is, I mean, who knows when they'll take another trip across the pond, but this could be one of the seldom times besides our days at NIU that we'll probably crack one at 7:30 in the morning or put some Baileys in the coffee.
That's what I was.
What I'm excited to see, we know how well the Packer fans travel here in the States. What do you think the percentage of Packer fans to New York Football Giants fan is going to be in London?
I honestly think it's going to be like 75 or 80% Packer fans because like most of Germany is just Packer fans. And the thing with the London crowd is usually you'll hear it. They just want to cheer for a good football game. So they cheer for both teams because, it just is what it is. But I honestly think it's going to be a massive showing for the Packers. So like probably at minimum 70%, I would have to say. Now here's the thing, like, how do you think this game turns out? Because I had a completely different expectation for how this week turned out. So how do you think this week turns out?
I'm just hoping we show up. We have a tough enough time traveling out west to San Francisco or San Diego, and that's a couple thousand miles from Lambeau. Now we got to travel however many more over to London, which almost part of me thinks, and it could be, a combination of Joe Barry playing vanilla, and I don't want to say it was a trap game versus the Patriots, but I do have a feeling though that we kind of were looking ahead and going one game up to London. I'm not going to say we were prepping for that, but I have a feeling the coaches may not say it, but I'm pretty sure we were confident we had that one in the bag and we'll show up much better to London to play.
So you'll just fly out and take, I mean, obviously a win is a win, but like you wake up at 7:30 on your Sunday morning and, you find out we sneak out, we're flying back to Green Bay, 9-3 win. Like, what'd be your reaction on that one? I mean, Daniel Jones might not play. I mean, he's kind of day to day. Taylor with the concussion, everything since Tua, they're going to be extra cautious with all this concussion stuff now. You have to take Barkley out. I mean, if you don't, you got to go 7, 8 in the box. Just like, please throw it at us. Like, even go 9 in the box. I don't even care. Leave a wide receiver wide open. I don't care. They're not going to throw it.
You would think Joe Barry has learned from his mistakes past week. I mean, it's almost just setting him up. They're like, hey, we tried your way here and went super vanilla and played your zone BS. And this week, hey, let's actually play up in their face because Saquon Barkley is a hell, and he's back too. I mean, he's back to his old form. He's a hell of a lot better running back than what the Patriots put back there I guess 1 day ago.
My concern is the Giants defense is rather good and we're not going to get on track. And that's just going to keep the Giants just hanging around.
Yeah, I'll predict that we won't score more than 17 points. How about
that? Wow. All right. We're going bold predictions on this show, huh? 17. Okay. So what do you have it at then? What do you think? 17-10?
17-10 is what I'm thinking. Yeah. I think you're going to see another part of where Aaron Jones gets off and running and the offense is in rhythm, working its way down the field, and you'll get a field goal or a touchdown off of that. But I also think with it being London and Rodgers wanting to show out for his international crowd, that I think you're still going to end up seeing the shot plays and going 5 wide and getting out of the pony set and having these 3-and-out drives or just 1 first down.
I'll go 24-13. It's 17-13 late. They throw a pick and we go down and score. That's what I'm feeling. I think it'll be pretty like you think. I think it'll be close, and they'll just make that one mistake, and Rodgers will lead the game to score another touchdown and kind of like ice it away.
But hey, whatever it takes. I mean, I'm definitely disappointed for how we played against the Patriots because we should have had a third quarter dagger with Wayne Larrabee calling it in the third quarter, maybe even before half. But this one, I honestly, as long as we come out with a win, I am ecstatic. I don't know, maybe if I'm lowering the bar now because of what transpired, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna be a lot of stressful weeks with this team. But I mean, if you're going to win gritty and kind of learn, maybe that's something that we haven't had in the past. You know what I mean? Maybe we've just been, things just came too easy on the, offensive side of the ball. We lacked the gut, the kill factor on defense. And now we kind of defense showing out and we're just going to have to win these gritty games. And you've seen teams that, play like this that go rather deep. I mean, the Jaguars did it on their run. I mean, they didn't win a Super Bowl or anything like that, but they went deep in the playoffs with it. And maybe that's just something this team needs, a change of philosophy of how to win. And maybe, the days of leaning on Rodgers and winning 35-13 with, or even, 35-28. And it's just like defense doesn't show out and offense doesn't have a run game. We're just throwing around. Maybe this is actually December, January, February football. We're getting the backs 35 carries and we're letting defense tee off.
Until Rodgers leave, that won't happen. I'll tell you why. And I'll say this: Tony Romo was absolutely wrong on his take about Darnell Savage being a really, really, really good player. But he was right, though, when he's like, hey, the tides are turning here in Green Bay. They're more of a run-first team and win with defense. From what I heard, though, in Rodgers' press conference, they're like, Rodgers, did you give yourself a pep talk at halftime, or what happened after that abysmal first-half performance? He's like, I've been a great player for a long time now. I don't need to give myself any sort of pep talk. So that leads me to believe until Rodgers is gone, and off this reign that he's had, that I don't think he'll fully submit. I don't know if that's the right word, but I don't think he'll fully submit to handing the ball off to 35 times a game. Maybe we saw it against Chicago, but I think as long as he's under center, he's not going to let that happen fully.
What did we do this? We were close to 35 this game as well.
Yeah, I know we rushed for over 200 yards easily.
It was actually is 199. Yeah.
99. Okay, well, not easily, but
You're
right there.
close. You're close. But I think Jones had like 19 carries, and I think Dillon was 15, 16, somewhere in there.
All
We're
right.
close.
He,
I mean, I know.
all right, so he will commit to 35 carries, but he won't reserve to not taking his shot plays that can completely derail a drive.
No, yeah, I know, and that's the frustrating part where Rodgers will have the 9-yard pass that could turn into 14 or 15 yards, and he's looking 35 yards down the field for whatever reason. Like you have the first down on 2nd and 8. Like there's no point in that. Take it, move the sticks. That's what this offense is right now. We're in a little bit of a crossroads between what Lafluer wants to do, and you could see him how he wants to scheme up the game and what Rodgers wants to do. That's been the crossroads for the last 3-4 years now, and we're doing Rodgers hot takes right now, right? With big number 4 in your background.
Yeah, I mean, he learned a lot from Favre, and he gives a ton of credit to him. Well, the one thing he take the good with the bad, and I think part of that bad is, while he might not force the issue like Favre would, he still wants to push the ball downfield. I mean, how could he not when you're Aaron Rodgers and the things that he's done?
I mean, but then you get the beautiful throws to Tunyon between two guys right down the seam.
That's why I thought he's playing his odds there. And I texted that, and LaFleur brought it up his press conference. I'm like, he's taking all his shot plays. He's bound to hit at least one or two of these things.
So when do we get you like credentials to talk to LaFleur about this stuff? Like, do you just show up with like a barrel of whiskey and start asking LaFleur some of these questions? But this will be fun. Kind of journey here, and the being drunk at 8:30 in the morning sounds perfectly fine for a Sunday morning. We'll just put Bailey's in the coffee, or we'll just go right to On the Rocks, and who knows, we might do a special edition, a noon special edition of Packers on the Rocks with some game day liquor in us.
Or even let's say one better. If we do actually open this thing up and get up by a few scores, let's go live, or let's do the recap, the Packers on the Rocks right then and there.
I'm down. I'm down for the gut reaction right after the game, or we'll just do it mid fourth quarter. Cheers into a nice victory and celebrating the fly home early. That'd be great. Or I could be texting you, many beers deep, saying what is going on.
Saying just hand the ball off to Aaron Jones, somehow get the ball in his hands in space.
Yeah, you've been on the receiving end of quite a few texts through me saying, I shouldn't be this far into the bottle as I am during these games. But,
Honestly, my blood pressure starts to raise at the same time. Like, I've been here, done that, I've seen it. I don't know what my expectations are this year, but not quite where they have been the past two. So I don't think I'm letting it get to me quite as much. And just we've suffered so much heartache and heartbreak and stress these past few years that I'm like, hey, just let it ride.
Yeah, it's a good approach. Yeah, I was kind of that way last couple of years, and I don't know. I don't really have the big picture yet. I mean, I'm kind of like wait and see, but I thought some of these games would be a little easier than they've made them seem on themselves.
That's the Packers, though. We played down our opponents, and with that, Dave, we probably should wrap this thing up before we get on a soapbox or banter all too much about our in-game stress release and all those sort of things. With that being said, this is episode 2 of Packers on the Rocks. We're on to London. Cheers, Dave.
Yeah, cheers, bud.